Sears and Ribbit and Company could practically touch the sky in 1969. They built a skyscraper in Chicago, which finished in 1973, and it was one of the most tallest buildings, and that spoke highly of how great they were doing as an organization. They had catalogs, they were into retail. But then 3 decades later, the naming rights of the tower expired, and Sears by then was far different a business from the company that had taken up the skyscraper project that was aiming to touch the sky. The New York Times reported that by 2004 the company had vacated the building altogether, and the building was taken over by someone else. Sears was founded in 1893. It survived the Great Depression, it survived multiple recessions and a lot of economic calamities for over a century. But then what laid them down? And that is what our case study is about today. Uh, Neil Saunders, who is the managing director of Global Data Retail, said that Sears will now act as a case study in how not to run a retail operation, and that's what that's what we sort of try to explore in our case study today, and we will be sharing the same with you. So over to you, Sankalp, to share the history of Sears.
Thank you, Asta. Uh, so the history of Sears. So Sears was started in 1886. Richard W. Sears founded the R.W. Sears Watch Company in Minneapolis. Basically, what he did was he bought a bunch of watches from a ship that had come in, right? Because nobody's buying it, and then cataloged it and sold it to multiple shops. So that's how the first catalog was started by him. Richard W. Sears is the one on the right. Uh, then he relocated to Chicago in 1887 and hired Alva C. Robick to repair watches. And then he started doing a mail order from there. And then to that catalog, he also added jewelry. So then they got together, and in 1889, sorry, Sears sold his business for $100,000 that time, which is 2.9 million, and relocated to Iowa to become a rural banker. Uh, but a few years later, he came back to Chicago, and with Rubik, they formed another mail order company, which came to be known as Sears, Rubik and Company. So Rubik is the one on the left. Next slide, please. The company grew phenomenally. They were selling merchandise at low prices to farms and villages that had no other access. So back in the day in America, almost 75% of the population lived in rural sites, right? There's a very small population that lived in the cities. So they used that advantage of theirs of being in the city to cater to the needs of the rural community. In 1895, Julius Rosenwald, a wealthy clothing manufacturer, bought out Rubik's interest. So he went out and he understood the business that they're trying to get into and had a bigger vision. So he went and bought Rubik's interest and he decided to partner up. The Sears catalog in 1890 had more than 500 pages. So imagine the amount of merchandise they were selling through a catalog, right? And rural America now purchase anything, right? Whether it's want to buy shoes, jewelry, fishing tackle, firearms, name it, and they had it on their catalog. The company needed capital, so in 1906 they went public, right? And Sears have been publicly owned and traded company ever since. So from 1906 till date, till 2004 is when they, I think, sold out. Rosen was succeeded Sears as president for the company in 1909. Next slide, please. So these are some of the pictures of the catalog that Sears had. So you can see on the left corner, you can see TVs, you can see bicycles, you can see vacuum cleaners and a whole bunch of things that they sold. You can see they went from black and white to color. They had uniforms. So name it, and they had it on their catalog. And this book was 500 pages for long. Next. So let's look into some of the iconic brands Sears started, right? So Sears was already a retail behemoth, but over time they also launched a few brands which became iconic. So from 1920 to 1943, they had the rights to publish and distribute in Encyclopedia Britannica in the US. In 1913, from 1913 to 2018, they owned the Kenmore Appliance brand, which started off with manufacturing sewing machines, and then later they added vacuum machines and other things. And in 2018, a hedge fund bought the brand from Sears. In 1927, they started a brand called Craftsman Tools for Farmers. They also added a whole bunch of other equipment and electronic stuff for power tools and razors, targeting the suburban and rural base that they had. And in 2017, Stanley Black and Decker acquired the brand. In 1931, they also started Allstate Insurance to offer very low rates insurance because they realized that a lot of their customers who in rural US couldn't afford paying high insurance costs, right? And they would come to the city for servicing the cars. So they launched an insurance company, which was later bought by the stockholders of the company. Another thing which Sears launched was the Discover card. Uh, so in 1924, General Robert E. Wood joined the company and guided the company to great heights. Wood noted that automobiles was making retail outlets in urban centers more accessible to consumers and opened the first Sears retail store in Chicago in 1925. So that's when the revolution started off. The automobile revolution also started, and people started buying cars. So they were using that to move from rural to cities, and he also used that as an advantage to open a large Sears stores. That's how the Sears mall stores concept started. And by 1931, Sears retail sales topped mail order sales. So that means the stores did much better than the mail order, and they flourished post World War II. They remained the largest retailer till 1980s. That's when Walmart started their operations in 1986. It discontinued General catalog in 1993. In 2004, Sears was acquired by Kmart for some $12 billion, the third largest retailer in the United States. And over the next decade after the acquisition, Sears started losing revenue, they had to start laying off staff, and they also had to start shutting stores down. At its peak, Sears and Kmart together owned 3,500 stores, but by the end of 2021, that's this year, they would own less than 100. And when I went to the US in 2004, I used to shop at Sears for my winter clothing. So I have a nostalgic value attached to Sears, but I think the online retail and Walmart business models killed them. So thank you for that. So Asta, over to you now for the next part.
Yeah. So the next part was supposed to be taken by Tushar, but since he's unable to join today, I'll take it over. It's great to note that as an organization, a retail organization which started almost over a century back, is now shutting doors after surviving so much. So now we come to why did Sears fail and why are the stores shutting down and everything. So the numbers tell us the real story. You can see the numbers on the screen. The Sears location, of course, Sankalp did share that after 2017, there are less than 100 left. The revenue, it was consistently going down, especially in the 21st century. And this is what their net income came down to. It became negative, and it became, a very, very difficult business to run for them. One of the executives of Sears had once said that Sears doesn't have to have any competition to save themselves. Sears is number 1, 2, number 3, and number 4. And if we take our sales and divide by 4, we will still be higher than our next competition. So that was the kind of achievement, that was the kind of glory that they were used to. However, a lot of that changed. And some of the reasons why these things changed was because the company leadership was looking inward rather than the changing scenario in the market. They were looking only at what they had to offer rather than seeing how the market was changing. They initially did start, when they started their stores, that was looking at the market, that was looking at the automobile revolution, that they started changing this, and but over a period of time, they couldn't keep up with the changing market. They were focusing on increasing efficiency rather than strategy to adopt to the new requirements. The specialty stores like Walmart and Kmart offer products to customers at very competitive prices, which which Sears could not keep up with. Sears was not ready to change or delay changes as per the market requirement. Its leadership was only taught to grow and not to change, which I think is such a big fallacy, because if we don't change, we can't grow. They had 29,000 pages rule book to look for solutions from history rather than changing into the new market requirements. So they were looking inwards and backwards rather than looking forwards and at the moment, and to notice what was actually going on. Increasing efficiency strategy made their expenses grow, and such a mammoth history created autocracy within the company. There was, of course, arrogance, and rightly so, because of the kind of achievements that they had and what they had created in the retail space. But their profit margins began to decline, which created a debate for increasing efficiency and non-strategy for growth for several consecutive years that followed. In 2005, Sears was bought by Eddie Lombard, who had already engineered takeover of the bankrupt Kmart. His focus or his strategy at that time was to, cut cost and, not on really increasing sale. However, as on date, he is selling assets owned by the company to recover his investment. So basically, it backfired, it doomed, and they were not able to move forward. So, Addy, over to you for the lessons learned from the great mistakes at Sears.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Asta. You can go to the next slide, please. So the first lesson learned from the case study, one ubiquitous catalog and added a website. Sears did not evolve its stores over a period of time. Now, as retail moved to an omni-channel model, the company was very slow to adapt. And when it did, it resulted in the also ran Shop Your Way program that seemed dated at launch. The same could be said about Sears merchandise. It did not evolve to meet customers' needs and changing tastes that led to stale stores that were not a draw for customers. Next slide, please, Asta. The second lesson that we learn out of Sears is that you can't cut your way to success. Now, every business must manage expenses carefully. Cutting unneeded costs should be done in order to free up cash for investments, not to just save up money. And that's a model Best Buy followed in its turnaround. The electronics retailer made a significant cut, but it did not do so just to save money. It used the cash to revamp and to evolve its stores, move more heavily into service, and transform its supply chain operations. Sears closed stores and made cuts mostly to lose less money. Now, that's a strategy that delayed the inevitable but could not change the company's fate. The third lesson we learn out of Sears is that no company is unassailable. Now, there was a time when Sears seemed like a bedrock of American society. The chain was going bankrupt, seemed like as likely as an Amazon or a Walmart bankruptcy feels right now. Now, in reality, there's no such thing as a company that's too big to fail. Shopping patterns and tastes change. How people shop has clearly changed, and there's no reason to think that won't happen again. Sears was unable to change, evolve, and this led to the final lesson that we can learn from Sears, which is complacency. Sears' end was not inevitable. The company could have made changes that kept it a viable competitor in the market. Now, with visionary leaders, it could have been a continued success story building on the value of its well-known brands to remain a vital shopping institution. But instead, Sears had gone bankrupt, and its survival remains very much in question. And that happened not because the market changed, but because the chain's management did very little to change its fate. The retailer's failure did not happen because of a bad year or even a few. It happened due to an extended period of neglect and poor choices that piled on top of each other, making it harder and harder to correct the company's course. Every business owner, even very successful ones, need to guard against complacency. A small crack grows bigger over time, and it's much easier to make repairs along the way than try to fix problems once they become major. Thank you. That's it. Back to you, Asta.
Thank you, Aditya, and thank you, Sankalp, and thank you, me, and thank you, Tushar, who's not here. This was our case study, and we will be open to any questions if there are. But I think I would want to, just put out something that came across to me from this case study and while we were doing our research is that, something that Einstein had said, that the measure of intelligence is the ability to change, and if you're not able to apply that, it does not work. So, there has to be a consistency in change with how the environment is changing. If we become complacent, if we become resistant, and we become stuck and arrogant at what we are doing, it will not help us in any way. So we're open to questions if there are any.
Yes, Sanjeev sir
Sanjeev
has
sir.
raised his hand. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Asta. I'm a little bit intrigued. I saw in one of the slides that was presented either by Sankalp or by Asta, which showed that up to 2007, the company was making hefty profits. And hefty means you can see that line, that chart in that display that showed profits of a sizable amount up till 2007, I think. And suddenly from 2008, the dip started, which reached a crescendo 5 years later. The company is practically wiped out. What I can't figure out is 100 years ago, they learnt that the way to grow was to reach out to the villages, reach out to those who didn't have access to the cities, to the department stores, etc. And so they increased their sales manifold by supplying to the village people what they wanted. Would not mail order thing be a natural thing? And as and when digital started, should not online shopping have been one of the early features in their mind? They had grown like that. So I'm not saying that we had online shopping or we had digital thing 50 years ago, but we definitely had it in the 90s. It had begun. The company never thought on those lines about what caused them to grow in the first place was reaching out to people who didn't have access to the market, physical shops. Suddenly, that was lost in this automobile revolution, etc., where 3,500 stores were in existence, which are today down to 100.
Less
So
than 100, sir.
wiped out there. My only take was, I mean, the four lessons that were summarized by Aditya were very well summarized. But my take is, where did they lose the plot? The thing that got them off to a big reach was their accessibility. Remote Americans also, and they lost that somewhere and got focused on cities, got focused on Sears Star, got focused on we are the best. Maybe that perhaps that was somewhere down the line they lost the plot. And we are talking of as recently as 2007, if I remember correctly, as per your charts. They have very hefty profits in 2005 and 6. And suddenly the dip has come. Huge dip has come. Is that because of the economic meltdown of 2008? Or is there
So,
anything else to it?
my take is that the consumer behavior, it changes over a period of time, and specifically from a retailer's perspective, right? When everything became available on digital platforms, right? The consumer behavior started shifting. That we don't even need to go out to get like a shoe or to get a piece of jewelry, right? And that is, I think, that is something that Sears did not preempt in my point of view. In fact, the website and the e-commerce portal, I think they launched in early 2000s, and they were pretty much far behind the curve for the Amazons of the world. And I think that's where they lost the plot completely.
So I think when Sears started, it was started by when Richard Sears actually came in. He was a visionary. He looked at opportunities and markets and whatever was available to him, but that consistency in innovation sort of failed them, and they were not able to consistently innovate, consistently see how the market was changing, because they were very stuck at what they were doing. The last decade has been a little bit more daunting for them, because the last decade has basically crashed everything.
And also,
even if you look at future retail locally in India, that's been sold to Amazon and then Reliance bought part of it, and it's a case. Any retail industry, if you don't have finances internally, if you don't accrue them, you're only going to borrow, go to debt. It's going to be a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And I think that's what would have happened with Sears once they start making losses.
Yeah.
And I think, as per the slide, the first loss they made was $3 billion. It was much more than the profits they made in the last 2-3 years.
2-3 years, yeah.
So if you have substantial loss in the first year itself, you start requiring fund from outside, and then that cycle becomes vicious for you to lose out. And when they sold the company itself, even the people who bought it could not sustain it because of the debt, I think. And then they had to sell the individual brands that they owned, from Sears to recover whatever money they had.
So just to add to what you were saying, right? The whole rural story, that rural story shifted, sir, as the industrial age came on and as things changed. Today, majority of America's population lives in cities, right, versus rural, and cities got digitized very quickly, right? So you had Amazons of the world come in and digitize purchasing, and a lot of things happened, right? So that's one reason. Second thing, sir, if you have, remember, Walmart became a very strong competitor, right? Since 86, 87 when they launched. Today, if you go to US, there's a Walmart in every town almost. And Walmart's concept is that they should be within 10 minutes or 15 minutes of driving for a town, for the residents, so they can come quickly shop and leave, right? Also, if you see a large number of Sears stores were in cities where rentals became really high. So that's why if you see retail in America, if you look at the chart and what's happening across US today, the number of malls that are shutting down, the number of retailers that are shutting shop permanently is actually really large, right? Why is that happening? Because people don't want to come to those malls anymore to shop. They're buying everything online, and it's become easier, right? Brands have gone online. I think so. Sears also missed the innovation bus to a large extent. And to last point to add was obviously cash became a very important aspect of their business, right? But if you look at Walmart, Walmart did one thing right. One thing and they did one thing right consistently was low pricing. They stuck to that as a philosophy and just focus on building that as a business, right? Walmart entered the online age only in 2016 when they bought Jet.com for a few $1 billion, right? So it's not about when you go into business or what you do, but I also think is how much you diversify in your line of business. They went to insurance, they went to credit cards, they went to equipment. So when you have so much, where you allocate capital, and retail became a bloodbath and a cash sucker for them.
Also, I think what Umar just wrote on the group chat is that their autocratic attitude as well as rigidity is what held them back. Also, because they, like Sankalp said, they missed the bus to innovation continuously. Lots of opportunities missed. I mean, they were almost like an Amazon in a previous century, when they were, they had catalogs and they were going from, they were mail ordering or delivering things to people, which way they were not able to catch up to when the times changed now. So they had a 90 years of rise, and the last 50 years have, killed them slowly. And in the last decade, more specifically.
And one more point.
They had a
sorry, I just-
20,000 page rule book.
Rule book, 29,000 page book, only of the history that they need to, like, what do they need to look back at, because their founders were such visionaries. Their founders were so progressive in how they wanted, and the vision that they had, that there was a lot to learn from there, but then they were always constantly looking backwards,
Yeah,
without realizing, maybe strategy wise they were looking at what strategies they sort of, they weren't able to understand the ethos of their business.